The galaxy had been peaceful for 300 years. 5 powerful alien races controlled everything. They had the best weapons, the strongest shields, and the smartest technology. These races formed the Galactic Council and they kept everyone safe. Then humans arrived. Earth made contact with alien life only 40 years ago, when Commander Jack Morrison met a Velcrin scout ship near Jupiter. The aliens welcomed humans but did not think much of them. Humans were new and their technology was basic. The Council gave Earth a low ranking. They called humans a Class 3 species. It meant humans were not special. They were just average in a galaxy full of amazing civilizations. Everything changed when the Skorath came. Nobody knew where they came from. They appeared from the edge of the galaxy without warning. The Skorath were not interested in trading or talking. They only wanted to conquer. Their ships were dark and covered in thick armor. Their weapons cut through everything. Their soldiers showed no mercy. The Skorath attacked system after system. The Galactic Council tried to fight back, but nothing worked. The Velcrin had powerful energy shields, but the Skorath broke through them easily. The Drometh had quantum weapons that could destroy planets, but the Skorath armor was too strong. The Zelkari could read minds, but they could not understand Skorath thoughts. The Korthan built amazing machines, but the Skorath destroyed them all. In 6 months, the Skorath conquered 12 star systems. Billions of people died or became slaves. The Council was losing badly. Fear spread across the galaxy. Everyone wondered if this was the end. Captain Daniel Hayes commanded a human ship called the Defiance. It was a small frigate with 40 crew members. The ship had basic weapons and normal engines. Nothing special. Daniel was stationed at Velkari Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. He was drinking coffee with his tactical officer, Lieutenant Amy Chen, when the alarms went off. The sound was loud and urgent. Daniel and Amy ran to the bridge. When they arrived, Daniel felt his heart drop. The main screen showed hundreds of Skorath ships appearing from nowhere. Their dark hulls blocked out the stars. There were so many of them. Lieutenant Kevin Park was working at the sensor station. His hands moved quickly across the controls. He looked up at Daniel with worry in his eyes. "Captain, I count 347 Skorath vessels. More are still arriving. The Council Defense Fleet is moving to fight them, but they are badly outnumbered." Daniel sat in his command chair and watched the battle begin. The Council ships were beautiful. They had smooth curves and bright colors. They looked like works of art floating in space, but art could not save them now. The Skorath ships were ugly and brutal. They looked like weapons because that was all they were. Energy beams shot through space. The Council ships fired everything they had. Their weapons hit the Skorath vessels but did almost nothing. The enemy armor was too thick. Then the Skorath fired back. Solid metal slugs the size of cars smashed into Council ships. Shields failed. Hulls broke apart. Ships exploded one after another. Lieutenant Lisa Grant spoke from the communications station. Her voice was tense. "Captain, we are receiving a distress call from Council High Command. They are asking all ships to help immediately." Daniel did not hesitate. "Set a course to intercept. All crew to battle stations." "We are going in." Amy looked at him with concern. "Captain, the Defiance is just one small ship. We have 40 people and old weapons. What can we possibly do against that fleet?" Daniel watched another Council ship explode on the screen. He thought about all the people dying out there. He thought about why humans had come to the stars in the first place. To explore, to make friends, to help others. We do what humans always do, Amy. When someone needs help, we show up. The Defiance accelerated toward the battle. On the surface of Velkari Prime, Council leader Thrax watched the fight through holographic displays. He was old and his skin changed colors to show his emotions. Right now his skin was dark purple and angry red. Those colors meant fear and stress. High Commander Zelkoth stood beside Thrax. Zelkoth was tall and powerful, a Dromath warrior who had fought in many battles. But even he looked worried. "We are losing," Zelkoth said. "Our weapons cannot hurt them. Our shields cannot stop them. We need to evacuate and retreat to the core systems." Thrax's skin flickered with different colors. "Retreat? The Council has never retreated. We protect the galaxy. The galaxy needs living protectors, not dead heroes," Zelkoth replied. A young Korthan officer named Plix spoke up nervously. "What about the human ship?" "It is moving to attack." Thrax's skin turned pale blue, the color of confusion. "One human ship?" "They are Class 3. Their weapons are primitive. They cannot help us, then why are they coming? Plix asked. Nobody had an answer to that question. In space, the Defiance reached weapons range. Daniel studied the enemy formation on his screen. The Skorath ships were huge and their weapons were everywhere. This was going to be very dangerous. Target the nearest Skorath cruiser, Daniel ordered. Fire all missiles. Kevin looked up from his station. Sir, our missiles will not go through their armor. I know. Fire anyway. 20 missiles launched from the Defiance. They streaked toward the Skorath cruiser in trails of fire. The enemy ship did not even try to dodge. The missiles hit and exploded in bright flashes. When the light faded, the Skorath ship was completely undamaged. Not even a scratch. Just as I thought, Amy said quietly. Skorath cruiser is returning fire, Kevin reported. Kinetic rounds incoming. Evasive action now, Daniel ordered. The Defiance rolled hard to the left. Huge metal slugs flew through the space where they had been seconds before. The ship shook from the extreme movement. Everyone held on tight. We cannot survive many attacks like that, Amy said. Daniel was thinking fast. He watched how the Council ships fought. They flew in neat formations. They stayed at medium range. They fired their weapons in predictable patterns. It was very organized and proper. The Skorath fought the same way, but they had better armor and bigger guns. Humans did not have better armor or bigger guns. But humans had something else. Humans had survived on Earth by being smart and unpredictable. Maybe that would work here too. Break from standard patterns, Daniel ordered suddenly. Take us into their formation at full speed. Fly between their ships. Kevin stared at him. Sir, that is suicide. Every Skorath gun will target us, exactly. Do it now. The Defiance shot forward at maximum speed. The ship dove straight toward the Skorath fleet. Alarms began screaming. Targeting systems from dozens of enemy ships locked onto the small human vessel. The crew could see death coming. Every Skorath ship is targeting us, Lisa reported. Her voice was shaking. Good, Daniel said calmly. Hold course. Do not change direction. The Defiance flew between two massive Skorath dreadnoughts. The huge enemy ships rotated to track the tiny human vessel. Their weapon systems locked on. Then they fired. Now climb straight up full power, Daniel shouted. The Defiance's engines roared. The ship shot upward in a brutal climb that pushed everyone down into their seats. Behind them, the two Skorath dreadnoughts fired their weapons at each other. The metal slugs punched through armor. Explosions ripped across both hulls. They hit each other, Amy said in shock. They actually shot each other. Their targeting is automated, Daniel explained while breathing hard. They do not adjust fast enough when something gets in the way. Bring us around. We are doing that again. For the next 20 minutes, the Defiance danced through the Skorath formation like a small fish among sharks. The human ship never fired its weapons. It did not need to. Daniel simply flew the ship so that Skorath vessels would lock onto them, while other Skorath ships were behind them in the line of fire. The enemy fleet began to fall apart. Ships accidentally damaged their own allies trying to hit the fast human vessel. Explosions bloomed throughout the Skorath formation. On Velkari Prime, Thrax watched in complete shock. The small blue icon that represented the Defiance moved through the enemy fleet like magic. Everywhere it went, red enemy icons disappeared or turned amber to show damage. What are they doing? Selkoth demanded. They are making the Skorath shoot each other, Plix said with wide eyes. They are using the enemy's own strength against them. Impossible, Thrax said. No species fights like that. It is too wild, too unpredictable. The humans are doing it right now, Plix insisted. Thrax watched the human ship roll through a gap barely larger than itself. 3 Skorath ships fired at the same time and hit each other instead. Send a message to all Council forces, Thrax said slowly. Tell them to watch what the humans are doing. Tell them to learn from it and copy it. The Council fleet began to change. Velkrin cruisers broke from their organized formations. Dromath destroyers started diving and dodging. The neat and predictable patterns dissolved into something wild and aggressive. The Skorath could not adapt fast enough. Their automated systems were not designed for this kind of chaos. One by one, their ships fell. When the battle ended 3 hours later, the Skorath fleet had been destroyed. Nearly 200 enemy vessels were gone. Most of them had been destroyed by their own weapons or by Council forces using the new aggressive tactics. The Defiance limped back to Velkari Prime on damaged engines. The hull was scarred, but the ship was still flying. Not a single crew member had died. Daniel stood on the bridge feeling exhausted. Well done, Eve. The message from the Galactic Council reached Earth 3 days after the battle at Valkyrie Prime. It arrived at United Earth Space Command headquarters in Geneva. Fleet Admiral Richard Stone was reading reports when his aide Commander Janet Price rushed into his office. "Admiral, priority message from the Council," Janet said quickly. "They are asking for military help. Full mobilization." Richard looked up from his work. His face showed concern. "How bad is the situation?" "See for yourself, sir." The holographic display turned on. It showed a recorded message from Council Leader Thrax. The old alien looked stressed. His skin was flickering through worried colors. "People of Earth, I am Thrax, leader of the Galactic Council. We face extinction. The Skorath invasion has destroyed our defenses. Normal warfare has failed. But your ship, the Defiance, showed us a new way to fight. Your tactics, your ability to adapt, your courage. These things turned the tide when everything seemed lost." Thrax leaned closer to the camera. His large eyes showed hope. "We formally request that humanity join the war effort as full military partners. We need your strategic minds. We need your new tactics. We need you to train our forces. In return, we offer full council membership, access to all our technology, and equal voice in galactic affairs. The rules that limited you as a Class 3 species are now gone." The message paused. When Thrax spoke again, his voice was quieter. "Captain Hayes of the Defiance risked everything to help us. His people were new to the galaxy. We had given them little, yet when we called for help, humanity answered. Now we are the ones calling for help. We pray you will answer again, because if you do not, the galaxy will fall." The display went dark. Richard sat quietly for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the window. He could see Lake Geneva below. Ships were visible in orbit, small points of light against the blue sky. Earth's entire fleet was only 73 vessels. Against the Skorath forces, it was almost nothing. "What are you thinking, sir?" Janet asked. "I am thinking about why we joined the Council in the first place," Richard said. "Not for their technology, not for their protection. We joined because we wanted to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We believed the galaxy should stand together against darkness." He turned back to Janet. "Contact the Secretary General. Tell her I recommend full mobilization. Then get me a direct line to Captain Hayes." "Yes, sir." "And Admiral, what do you think our chances are?" Richard smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Honestly, very bad. The Skorath have bigger ships, better weapons, and more experience. By logic, we should stay home and protect Earth. But humans have never been very logical when someone needs help." 24 hours later, the United Earth Assembly voted to join the war. Everyone agreed. The news spread across the planet in minutes. Recruitment centers were flooded with people. Volunteers lined up for blocks. Young people barely old enough to serve stood next to veterans of Earth's own wars. At the Houston Space Academy, Instructor Lieutenant Paul Martinez watched applications scroll across his screen. He turned to his colleague, Lieutenant Helen Cruz. 3 million applications in one day, Paul said in disbelief. "We can crew every ship in the fleet 10 times over." "People want to help," Helen replied. "That is who we are. Someone calls for help and we go." "Even when it might mean dying far from home?" Helen nodded. "Especially then." Within 1 week, Earth's military shipyards went into full production. Construction crews worked day and night building new vessels. The designs were simple compared to Council ships. No energy shields, no quantum weapons, but they were fast and they could turn quickly. They were built using the same ideas that had saved the Defiance. In orbit above Mars, Chief Engineer Ryan Mitchell supervised construction of the new carrier-class vessels. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Nicole Sanders, floated beside him in zero gravity. She was reviewing the plans. "These ships are half the size of Council carriers," Nicole observed, "and our fighters are basically armored shuttles with missiles attached." "True," Ryan agreed. "But they are also twice as fast and 3 times as agile. The Council builds for power. We build for speed and tactics. Will it be enough?" Ryan looked at the growing fleet. Dozens of ships were under construction. Their metal frames were slowly taking shape. It has to be. On Earth's surface, training camps processed the flood of volunteers. At Fort Carson in Colorado, Sergeant Alex Turner put new recruits through zero-gravity combat drills. The men and women struggled in the strange environment, but they did not quit. "Listen up," Alex said loudly. "You volunteered to fight an enemy that destroyed forces far more advanced than us. The Council species have been in space for thousands of years. We have been in space for less than a century. They have better technology, better weapons, better everything. He paused and looked at each recruit. But you know what they do not have? They have never been the underdog. Every one of them was the strongest creature on their home world. They never had to fight smarter because they could not fight stronger. We have. That is our advantage. A young recruit named Sophie Lee raised her hand. Sergeant, what if our advantage is not enough? Alex smiled. Then we find another advantage. That is what humans do. We adapt. We figure things out. We overcome problems. The Scorath are about to learn why you do not mess with a species that had to fight its way to the top of the food chain. 3 weeks after the Council's request, the United Earth Fleet assembled in orbit. 73 original vessels plus 42 newly built ships. It was not impressive by galactic standards. But as Fleet Admiral Richard Stone stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, he felt something the numbers did not show. Determination. All vessels report ready. Admiral, said his operations officer, Commander Greg Foster. Course set for Valkyrie Prime, added Navigator Lieutenant Sarah Williams. Richard activated the fleet-wide communication channel. His image appeared on every ship's main display. This is Admiral Stone to all vessels. Today we start a journey that will define humanity's place in the galaxy. The Council called for help. They did not call because we are the strongest or most advanced. They called because when facing extinction, they remembered that one human ship made a difference. He paused and looked at the faces on his own bridge. We are heading into war against an enemy that has conquered species far older and more powerful than us. The odds are against us. Many of us will not come home. But we go anyway because that is what humans do. We stand up for others. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. We turn the tide when everyone else has given up. Richard's voice became harder. The Scorath think they have won. They think the galaxy will fall because the old powers could not stop them. They are about to learn they are wrong, because humanity has arrived, and we are done being underestimated. He raised his fist. All ships engage faster than light drives. Destination is Valkyrie Prime. Let us show the galaxy what humans can do. The Unity's engines flared bright blue. Around it, 115 human vessels activated their drives. Space bent and tore. The fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, Earth watched and waited. Families said prayers. Children looked up at the stars. Across the planet, people wondered if they would ever see their loved ones again. On Valkyrie Prime, Council Leader Thrax received notification that the human fleet had left Earth. He immediately called an emergency council meeting. The humans are coming, he announced. 115 vessels. Admiral Stone commands. 115 ships, High Commander Zelkoth said dismissively. The Scorath have thousands. What difference can such a small force make? The same difference one ship made at Valkyrie Prime, Thrax replied. We do not need human numbers. We need human innovation. Their way of thinking is different from ours. We must learn from it. He showed analysis of the Defiance's combat tactics. Look at this. Every move breaks standard combat rules. They operate on instinct and quick decisions. They take risks we would never consider. And it works. Because Captain Hayes is special, suggested Vela, the Valine representative. One talented commander does not mean all humans fight this way. That is what we are about to discover, Thrax said. I have ordered all Council military schools to study human history. Their wars. Their strategies. Their heroes. If we want to survive, we must learn to think like them. You want us to study primitive warfare? Zelkoth sounded offended. I want us to study effective warfare, Thrax corrected. Humans have been fighting each other for their entire history. War is in their nature in a way it is not in ours. We fought wars of honor and glory. They fought wars of survival. That difference matters now. The young officer Plix spoke up. Permission to share what I learned about human military history? Go ahead, Thrax said. Plix showed a series of images. I studied their major conflicts. At a place called Thermopylae, 300 warriors held off an army of hundreds of thousands. At Rorke's Drift, 150 soldiers defended against 4,000 attackers. Again and again throughout their history, humans have won battles they should have lost. The images continued. They have a saying. It is not the size of the dog in the fight, it is the size of the fight in the dog. What does that mean? Vela asked, confused. It means, Thrax said quietly, that humans do not measure victory by numbers. They measure it by will, and their will may be the strongest force in the galaxy. The Skorath had never fought anyone like humans before. That became clear within hours of the United Earth Fleet's arrival at the front lines. High Commander Zelkoth stood in the Council war room watching tactical displays with growing surprise. The human fleet had split into dozens of small groups. Each group operated independently. They did not establish defensive positions. They did not wait for orders. They simply attacked. "They are everywhere," Zelkoth said. His massive frame was tense with confusion. No coordination. No formation. "How is this effective military strategy?" "Because it works," Council Leader Thrax replied. He pointed to the display where red Skorath icons were disappearing at an alarming rate. "Watch." A human destroyer group led by Captain Frank Johnson on the Swift Strike had found a Skorath supply convoy. Instead of fighting the escort ships directly, the human ships used their speed to dart in, destroy the cargo vessels, and retreat before the Skorath could respond. "They are attacking supply lines," Plix observed. "The Skorath cannot fight without supplies." "It gets better," Thrax said, switching the display to another sector. "Look at this." Commander Rachel Green led a squadron of fighters from the carrier Horizon. The small human craft were nothing compared to Skorath interceptors. They were slower, less armored, and carried simple missile weapons. The Skorath commander had dismissed them as no threat. That commander was now dead. Rachel's fighters had approached in a widespread formation, making themselves hard to target. When the Skorath interceptors chased them, the human fighters dove toward their own carrier, then scattered at the last second. The Skorath could not turn as quickly. They found themselves facing the Horizon's defense cannons at close range. 12 Skorath interceptors were destroyed in seconds. "Zero human losses. They lured the enemy into a trap," Zelkoth said slowly, "using their own weakness as bait." "That is the human way," Thrax replied. "They see disadvantages as opportunities. Where we see impossible obstacles, they see possibilities." The war room's main display updated with a priority alert. Admiral Richard Stone was requesting a direct conference with the Council. "Put him through," Thrax ordered. Admiral Stone's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, the Unity's bridge was busy with activity. "Council Leader Thrax," Admiral Stone reporting. "We have been in system for 6 hours. Initial fights are promising, but I need to coordinate with Council forces for a larger operation." "What operation?" Thrax asked. "We identified the Skorath staging area in the Gamma 7 sector. It is where they gather invasion fleets before jumping to their next target. If we can destroy it, we buy the Council months to rebuild defenses." Zelkoth leaned forward. "That sector is defended by 300 Skorath vessels. We tried an assault last month and lost 60 ships without achieving anything." "I know," Richard said. "I read your battle reports. You went in with overwhelming force and tried to outgun them in direct combat. It did not work. What would you do differently?" Zelkoth demanded. Richard smiled. "Everything. But I need Council ships for this. Specifically, I need your heavy cruisers and their energy weapons. Will you commit them to a human-led operation?" The Council leaders exchanged glances. The idea of putting their most powerful vessels under human command would have been unthinkable a month ago. "Explain your plan," Thrax said. For the next 30 minutes, Richard laid out his strategy. The Council leaders listened in growing disbelief. The plan broke every rule of normal warfare. It was risky, unpredictable, and relied on perfect timing. It was completely human. "This is madness," Zelkoth finally said. "Yes," Richard agreed. "That is why it will work. The Skorath are logical. They follow patterns. They expect rational tactics. We are going to hit them with something irrational and overwhelming." Thrax's skin shifted through several colors as he thought about it. Finally, it settled on determined orange. "You will have your ships, Admiral. When do we begin?" 20 hours. "We attack at 0600 tomorrow, Galactic Standard Time. Tell your commanders to follow human instructions exactly, no matter how strange they seem." "They will obey," Thrax promised. "Do not make us regret this trust." "I will not," Richard said. "Humanity does not abandon its allies." The transmission ended. Thrax turned to his fellow Council leaders. "This could cost us everything," Vela said quietly. "Doing nothing will definitely cost us everything," Thrax replied. "At least this way we fight, and humans seem very good at fighting." 20 hours later, the combined human Council fleet assembled. The human ships formed the front. Fast destroyers, agile frigates, and 150 fighters from 3 carriers. Behind them came 20 Council heavy cruisers with massive energy weapons. On the Unity's bridge, Admiral Stone reviewed final preparations. His tactical officer, Commander Greg Foster, looked worried. "Sir, the Skorath staging area now reports 400 vessels. Their defenses have been reinforced." "Good," Richard said. "More targets." "More targets means more danger," Greg pointed out. "Also means more of them bunched together. Tell the fighter wings to begin Phase 1. The Unity's fighter bays opened. Small craft poured into space, spreading out in seemingly random directions. Watching from the Skorath staging area, the enemy commander must have been confused. The fighters were not approaching in attack formation. They were just flying around. "Phase 1 is active," reported Communications Officer Lieutenant Carl Brown. "Fighters are broadcasting on all frequencies." The Skorath detected the transmissions immediately. Hundreds of human voices filled the communication channels, shouting coordinates, tactical updates, and apparently panicked warnings. It sounded like the human force was in complete chaos. The Skorath commander took the bait. Seeing the chance to destroy the disorganized human fighters, he sent 200 interceptors. "Enemy fighters launching," Greg reported. "They are committing heavily. Perfect. Execute Phase 2. The seemingly chaotic human fighters suddenly flew in perfect formation, diving away from the Skorath staging area. The enemy interceptors chased them, eager for an easy victory. The chase led directly into an asteroid field that human scouts had mapped 3 days earlier. "All Council cruisers. This is Admiral Stone," Richard broadcast. "Target the asteroids I am highlighting. Fire on my mark." 20 Council heavy cruisers powered up their energy weapons. They targeted specific asteroids along the human fighters' flight path. The massive rocks had been carefully chosen. They were rich in iron and nickel and would break apart in predictable patterns when hit. "Mark," Richard ordered. 20 energy beams shot through space. The targeted asteroids exploded, sending thousands of high-speed fragments in all directions. The human fighters, following pre-planned routes, wove through the debris field with practiced precision. The Skorath interceptors traveling at high speed in pursuit had no chance. Unable to turn in time, they slammed into the debris cloud. 200 enemy craft were destroyed in seconds without the humans firing a single shot. "Phase 2 complete," Greg reported with satisfaction. "0 friendly losses. Commence Phase 3. All ships attack pattern Delta 7. The combined fleet accelerated toward the Skorath staging area. The enemy, having just lost a big portion of their fighter screen, scrambled to reorganize. They did not get the chance. The human destroyers hit first, coming in fast and low, too close to the staging area's platforms for the big Skorath ships to target them effectively. The destroyers did not aim for enemy vessels. Instead, they launched missiles at the orbital facilities, fuel depots, repair stations, ammunition stores. Captain Margaret Davis commanded the destroyer Rapid Fire, leading the assault on a Skorath fuel depot. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Ben Torres, targeted the facility's storage tanks. "Missiles away," Ben reported. "All ships clear the blast zone," Margaret ordered. The human destroyers turned away seconds before the missiles hit. The fuel depot exploded in a massive fireball. The blast caught 3 nearby Skorath cruisers and damaged 2 more. All across the staging area, similar explosions bloomed. Human ships targeted infrastructure while avoiding direct fights with enemy vessels. It was like attacking the legs instead of the head. "Skorath are deploying their main battle fleet," Greg reported. 150 heavy capital ships forming up. "Right on schedule," Richard said. "Council cruisers, you are up. Target their formation center. Full bombardment, then retreat. Do not try to win the fight. Just cause chaos." The Council heavy cruisers advanced. Their commanders were still uncertain about this unusual strategy, but they followed orders, launching massive salvos of energy weapons into the heart of the Skorath formation. The enemy formation broke apart as ships moved to target the Council vessels, which was exactly what Richard wanted. "Human carriers, launch the main strike," he ordered. From 3 human carriers came 150 fighters, flying in tight formation toward the now disrupted Skorath fleet. Instead of engaging the capital ships, the fighters dove toward the staging area's command platform, a massive structure that coordinated all Skorath operations in the sector. Leading the strike was Commander Nathan Pierce from the carrier Valiant. His fighter shook as enemy fire filled the space around him. "Stay tight," Nathan called to his squadron. "Ignore the capital ships. We only care about the command play." 3 months after the destruction of the Skorath staging area, the war had changed completely. The human way of fighting had spread throughout the Council forces like fire through dry grass. On the bridge of the Velkrin cruiser Starfire, Captain Thoril watched his tactical display with satisfaction. His ship was fighting a Skorath patrol squadron using tactics he had learned from human advisors. Instead of the traditional side-by-side exchange of fire, the Starfire was using hit-and-run strikes. They never stayed in one place long enough to become a target. Beside him, his human liaison officer, Lieutenant Emma Walsh, called out updates. Enemy destroyer taking evasive action. They are trying to predict our next position. Then we change the pattern, Thoril replied. His skin flickered with excitement. Helm, execute random evasion sequence 7. The Starfire moved left, then climbed, then rolled. These movements would have been unthinkable for a Council ship 6 months ago. The Skorath destroyer's weapons fire passed through empty space. Return fire all forward batteries, Thoril ordered. The Starfire's energy weapons struck the Skorath vessel's engines. The enemy ship went dark and started drifting. Target neutralized, Emma reported, and we took 0 damage. Captain, your crew is really getting good at this. Thoril's skin shifted to proud gold. We are learning from the best. Tell Admiral Stone that the Velkrin fleet is ready for major operations. Similar reports were coming in from across the front lines. Dromoth commanders were using tricks and deception. Zelkari telepaths were coordinating strike groups with new efficiency. Korthan engineers were modifying ships for speed and agility rather than raw power. The Council had learned to fight like humans. In the war room on Velkari Prime, Fleet Admiral Richard Stone reviewed the strategic situation with Council Leader Thrax and the military commanders. The holographic display showed the entire war zone. Hundreds of systems, thousands of ships, millions of lives in the balance. The Skorath are retreating, High Commander Zelkoth reported. His voice was filled with disbelief. For the first time since this war began, they are losing territory. 3 systems reclaimed in the last month alone. They are not just losing territory, added Admiral Jennifer Cole from the Earth vessel Endeavour. They are losing organization. Our hit-and-run tactics have them scattered. They cannot mount effective attacks when they are constantly defending. But they are adapting, warned Captain Daniel Hayes from the Defiance. The man who had started it all looked tired but determined. I have seen changes in their tactics. They are building smaller, faster ships, copying our strategies. Let them copy, Richard said. They will always be 1 step behind. We will innovate faster than they can adapt. That is our edge. Thrax shifted colors thoughtfully. We have pushed the Skorath back, but we have not defeated them. Intelligence indicates their main fleet, over 2,000 vessels, is gathering at their forward command base in the Cronus system. If they launch a coordinated assault from there, all our gains could be lost. Then we do not let them launch, Richard said. We take the fight to Cronus. The war room fell silent. Zelkoth was the first to speak. Cronus is the most heavily defended system in Skorath-controlled space. It would require our entire combined fleet to have any chance of success. That is exactly what I am proposing, Richard replied. Every ship, every fighter, every soldier. We gather our forces and hit them with everything we have. That would leave our reclaimed systems almost undefended, Vela objected. If the attack fails, we lose everything. If we do not attack, we eventually lose anyway, Richard countered. The Skorath are regrouping. We need to hit them before they are ready. This is our moment. Captain Margaret Davis from the destroyer Rapid Fire leaned forward. It is a calculated risk, but the Admiral is right. We have been fighting defensively for too long. It is time to go on offense. On offense, Thrax repeated. His skin shifted through multiple colors. Fear, hope, determination. A direct assault on the enemy's heart. This is very human thinking. Do you have a better idea? Richard asked. Thrax was quiet for a moment. Then his skin settled into determined orange. No, and perhaps that is the problem. We keep looking for better ideas when the right idea is right in front of us. We must trust human judgment. It has not failed us yet. He looked at each commander in turn. I propose we commit to Admiral Stone's plan. Full offensive assault on Cronus. All available forces. One decisive battle to turn the tide permanently. All in favor? Zelkoth asked. Every hand, claw, and appendage in the room rose. Then it is decided, Thrax declared. We assemble the fleet. Admiral Stone, you have supreme command of the operation. When do we begin? Immediately, Richard replied. We will need 2 weeks to gather all forces and plan the assault. But once we are ready, we move fast and we hit hard. The Skorath will not know what is coming. Over the next 2 weeks, the largest combined fleet in galactic history assembled at the staging point. 400 human vessels, 600 council ships, and 3,000 fighters from 24 species. Over 300,000 military personnel, all trained in human tactics, all ready to fight. On the Unity, Admiral Stone met with his senior staff for final planning. His commanders filled the briefing room, human officers alongside council species, all wearing the unified insignia of the Allied fleet. "This is it," Richard began. "The decisive battle. We win at Cronus and the Skorath lose their ability to threaten the galaxy. We lose and everything we fought for dies with us." He activated the tactical display showing the Cronus system. "Intelligence reports 2,000 Skorath vessels defending the system with their command dreadnought at the center. That ship is 3 times the size of anything we have. It is a mobile fortress. How do we fight something like that?" asked Commander Nathan Pierce from the carrier Valiant. "Same way we have fought everything else," Richard replied. "We do not try to overpower it. We outthink it. We have divided our fleet into 5 task forces, each with human and council ships. We will hit Cronus from multiple directions at once. The Skorath will have to split their forces to respond." He pointed to different positions on the display. Task Force Alpha, led by Admiral Cole, will engage the main Skorath fleet head-on. That is the hammer. While they are focused on Alpha, Task Forces Bravo through Echo will strike at key targets: supply depots, communication arrays, fighter bases. "And the command dreadnought?" asked Captain Thorell. Richard smiled grimly. "That is for me and Task Force Vanguard. We are going straight for the throat." "Suicide," Zelkoth said flatly. "Maybe," Richard admitted. "But every major Skorath operation is coordinated from that dreadnought. We take it out and their entire fleet becomes disorganized. It is worth the risk." "How do we destroy something that heavily armored?" Emma Walsh asked. "We do not destroy it from the outside," Richard replied. "We destroy it from the inside. My flagship team will board that dreadnought and take out its command center. Once it is blind, the rest of the fleet can pick it apart." The room erupted in objections. Richard held up his hand for silence. "I know it sounds crazy. That is because it is crazy. But you know what? The Skorath will not expect it. They think they are safe in that fortress. We are going to prove they are wrong." He looked at each officer. "This is the plan. If anyone has better ideas, now is the time." No one spoke. They had learned to trust human instincts even when those instincts seemed insane. "Then we are committed," Richard said. "We jump to Cronus in 12 hours. Get your crews ready. And remember, we are not just fighting for our species. We are fighting for the galaxy. Every world that looks up at the stars and hopes for peace is counting on us." "No pressure then," muttered Commander Greg Foster, earning nervous laughter. "One more thing," Richard added seriously. "For most of you, this is the first time you have fought alongside other species as true equals. I have seen human and Velkrin pilots saving each other's lives, Dramath and Korthan engineers working together, Zelkari telepaths coordinating with human tacticians. That is what this war has been about. Proving we are stronger together than apart." His voice hardened with determination. "The Skorath came to this galaxy thinking they could divide and conquer. We are going to show them what happens when the galaxy stands united. We are going to show them that when they called for our surrender, it was humanity and our allies who turned the tide." 12 hours later, the Allied fleet jumped to Cronus. The Skorath detected them immediately. Alarms blared across every enemy vessel. 2,000 warships moved into defensive positions around their command dreadnought. "All task forces, commence attack," Richard ordered from the Unity's bridge. The Allied fleet split into 5 groups, each accelerating toward different directions. Task Force Alpha, 400 ships strong, drove straight toward the main Skorath formation. Admiral Jennifer Cole commanded Alpha from the Endeavor. As the enemy fleet opened fire, she gave the order she had been practicing for weeks. "All ships, evasive pattern Delta. Do not hold formation. Scatter and attack at will." The ships broke apart like a flock of birds. Each vessel danced through the enemy fire. Each captain trusted their training and instincts. The Skorath, expecting a formation battle, found themselves facing 400 independent attackers. They could not focus fire. They could not coordinate defense. All they could do was react. While Task Force Alpha kept the main enemy fleet busy, the other task forces struck their targets. Task Force Bravo, led by Captain Margaret Davis, destroyed 3 supply depots quickly. Task Force Charlie, commanded by Captain Thorall, eliminated the Skorath communications network. Task Forces Delta and Echo wiped out fighter bases on the system's outer planets. And Task Force Vanguard, 50 ships led by the Unity, made straight for the command dreadnought. On the Unity's bridge, Richard watched the massive enemy vessel grow larger on the view screen. It was bigger than anything he had ever seen. Thousands of weapons covered its surface. "That is a lot of guns," Greg observed nervously. "Then we better not get hit," Richard replied. "All ships, formation Echo 9. We are going in fast and close." The 50 ships of Task Force Vanguard accelerated to maximum speed, weaving through the command dreadnought's defensive fire. Smaller Skorath escorts tried to stop them, but human and council fighters kept them busy. "Approaching dreadnought hull," reported Sarah Williams from navigation. "Point defense systems activating." "Launch boarding pods," Richard ordered. "And tell the assault teams to move fast. We will not have long." 20 boarding pods launched from the Unity and surrounding ships, carrying 200 elite soldiers, human marines alongside Council Special Forces. The pods slammed into the dreadnought's hull, cutting through the armor with plasma torches. Leading the assault was Major Kyle Roberts, a veteran of Earth's own wars. His team cut through the hull and poured into the Skorath vessel, weapons ready. The interior of the dreadnought was alien and hostile. Dark corridors, strange atmosphere, enemy soldiers everywhere. But Kyle's team had trained for this. "Move fast, stay tight," Kyle ordered. "We are heading for the command center. 7 levels up, 200 meters forward. Let us go." The assault teams fought through the dreadnought's defenders, moving with practiced efficiency. Human marines used covering fire while council soldiers flanked enemy positions. Zelkari telepaths warned of ambushes before they happened. Dromath warriors broke through barricades. It was brutal close-quarters combat. Losses mounted with every corridor. But the teams kept pushing forward. Kyle's unit reached the command center first. The heavy doors were sealed, but the team's Corthan engineer specialist Crix overrode the security system in seconds. The doors slid open. Inside, dozens of Skorath command staff worked at their stations, coordinating the entire defensive battle. "Surrender," Kyle ordered in the Skorath language, his weapon raised. The enemy commander, a massive creature covered in armored plates, turned to face the intruders. Its voice was like grinding metal. "You cannot win. We are superior. We will destroy you all." Kyle shook his head. "You know what? Everyone keeps saying that. And yet here we are," he signaled his team. "Secure the command center." And someone shut down their communications. The Skorath command staff tried to resist, but they were scientists and administrators, not warriors. Within minutes, the command center was captured, its systems locked down. On the Unity's bridge, Richard watched the tactical display as the command dreadnought suddenly went dark. All across the Skorath fleet, ships lost coordination. "It is working," Greg said in amazement. "They are confused. They do not know what to do." "All fleet units, press the attack," Richard ordered.
"Hit them now while they are disorganized." The Allied fleet fell on the leaderless Skorath forces.
Without central command, the enemy vessels fought independently, unable to support each other. One by one they fell. The Battle of Cronus lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Skorath fleet was broken. 700 enemy vessels destroyed, another 800 captured or disabled. The command dreadnought was in Allied hands. The cost had been high. The Allied fleet lost 137 ships and over 15,000 people. Among the dead was Major Kyle Roberts, who had held the command center long enough for reinforcements to arrive, but had fallen in the final enemy counterattack. On the Unity, Richard stood in silence as the casualty reports came in. So many good people. So many brave souls. "The victory felt hollow, sir," Greg said quietly. "Message from Council Leader Thrax. The Skorath are requesting ceasefire negotiations." Richard looked up. "They are ready to negotiate?" "They are ready to surrender," Greg corrected. "We broke their main fleet. We captured their command structure. They have nothing left to fight with." For the first time in months, Richard allowed himself to feel hope. "Then we have done it. We have actually done it." He activated the fleet-wide communication channel. Every ship, every crew member heard his voice. "This is Admiral Stone to all Allied forces. The Skorath have requested surrender negotiations. The war is over. We have won." The cheering that erupted across the fleet was loud enough to hear even through the vacuum of space. On every ship, crews hugged each other. Human and council species celebrating together. We did not just win a battle, Richard continued. We won because we learned to fight together. Because we trusted each other. Because when the galaxy called for help, humanity answered and brought everyone else with us. That is what turned the tide. Not our weapons. Not our tactics. Our unity, he paused, emotion thick in his voice. To those we lost along the way, we will never forget you. You gave everything so the galaxy could be free. Your sacrifice will be remembered as long as stars burn. And to everyone still with us, you have earned your place in history. The galaxy will never be the same, because humanity showed them another way, a better way. The transmission ended. Richard sat heavily in his command chair, exhausted but satisfied. What now? Greg asked. Richard smiled. Now we go home. We have got families waiting. Friends to see. Lives to rebuild. We have been soldiers long enough. Do you think the peace will last? I do not know, Richard admitted. But for the first time in a long time, I believe it has a chance. We proved that different species can work together. That we are stronger united than divided. That is worth fighting for. That is worth believing in. He stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, home. Set course for Earth, he ordered. Maximum speed. It is time to go home. 6 months later, the galaxy celebrated its first united peace in recorded history. The Skorath had not only surrendered, they had asked to join the council. They recognized that their conquest strategy had been outdated from the moment humanity joined the fight. On Earth, in the city of Geneva, representatives from every council species gathered for the signing of the Galactic Charter of Unity. The document would make the alliance permanent and establish the framework for lasting peace. Fleet Admiral Richard Stone stood on the stage in his dress uniform, medals heavy on his chest. Beside him were the other heroes of the war. Captain Daniel Hayes, Admiral Jennifer Cole, Commander Nathan Pierce, Captain Margaret Davis, and dozens more. Representatives from the council species stood with them, wearing their own military honors. Council leader Thrax approached the podium. His skin shimmered with colors of joy and respect. We gathered today to honor those who saved the galaxy, Thrax began. When the Skorath invaded, we believed ourselves doomed. Our weapons could not stop them. Our tactics could not defeat them. We faced extinction. He paused, looking at the human delegates. Then humanity arrived. A young species, a new member of our council. By all logical measures, they should have been irrelevant to the war's outcome. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and outmatched in technology. Thrax's skin shifted to brilliant gold. But humanity taught us that victory is not measured in firepower or armor. It is measured in adaptability, innovation, and courage. They showed us a new way to fight. More importantly, they showed us a new way to think. He gestured to Admiral Stone. This man led the final assault on Cronus with a plan that broke every rule in our military doctrine. It was unpredictable, risky, and by traditional standards, foolish. It was also completely brilliant. Because it worked, the crowd applauded. Richard shifted uncomfortably. He had never been comfortable with attention, Thrax continued. But Admiral Stone would be the first to tell you that this victory was not his alone. It belonged to every soldier who fought, every pilot who flew, every engineer who kept ships running, every person from every species who looked at impossible odds and said, "We will find a way." The council leader's voice grew serious. We remember those who did not return. 15,000 souls gave their lives so that billions could live free. Among them was Major Kyle Roberts, who held the command center of the Skorath dreadnought long enough for victory to be secured. His last words, transmitted before he fell, were simple. Mission accomplished. Tell everyone they can go home now. Silence fell over the assembly. Then as one, the entire crowd rose to their feet in respect for the fallen. After a moment, Thrax spoke again. Today we signed the Galactic Charter of Unity. It establishes 3 principles that will guide us forward. First, no species shall be judged by age or technology level. Humanity proved that wisdom and innovation matter more than firepower. Second, all council members are equal partners. There will be no more classes or ranks. We stand together or not at all. Third, military doctrine will be collaborative and adaptive. We will learn from each other, especially from those who think differently than we do. He picked up a stylus and signed the charter. Then he passed it to the